Well, this video is about a few updates from the garden over the last couple of weeks, and you can see the garden is still providing some degree of flower and sources of nectar. And those sources of nectar saw this butterfly come in. This, of course, is a comma. I love commas. I think commas are delightful, and I remember seeing my very first comma when I was a child, and it was roosting on the ceiling of next door's living room, and it was promptly squashed. That's when commas were only just starting to come back into Nottinghamshire in the early 1970s, I think that was. But this one was a joy, allowing a very close approach, and something that commas are often prone to do. They're not always completely flighty. And this one was nectaring on the erysemum. They're rather partial to the nectar of erysemum. But one morning I was sat having a cup of coffee by the back door, and I noticed something on a goat sallow just up the yard. It's behind that small acer. It was on here. And when I looked on the underside of one of the leaves, I saw this. And this is a comma caterpillar. It's in about the last instar, and it was hidden underneath this particular goat sallow leaf, and I was surprised. And the reason I was surprised is because I had no idea that commas will occasionally lay their eggs on goat sallow and willows. It was completely new to me, but when I turned the leaf over, this comma caterpillar did what they all do, and they can contort themselves into like an S shape, and you're looking at the back end of this one. The head is facing away from us to the lower left of the caterpillar. So that was a wonderful surprise. This was wonderful, but it was no surprise. This, of course, is a painted lady, and everybody knows what a fabulous year it has been for painted ladies. And this is one of probably several that visited the garden, as was this gatekeeper. This gatekeeper stayed for several days. It was a female and was joined by a male on a couple of occasions. And this female spent a lot of time nectaring at this large thyme that I have growing in a pot. Always a delight to see gatekeepers. And she actually spent a night on the yard, roosting on the upper surface of a leaf of one of the goat sallows I have on the yard. What a delightful little butterfly, occasionally flicking the wings open. And she loved this thyme. There you can see the flower that's in the garden. Not all of it is nectar bearing, but something always utilises it, as does this particular mint moth. This is one we saw in a video recently, a multitasking female that could eat and lay eggs at the same time. Beautiful little moths that have had a bumper year. This garden has been full of mint moths in this last brood, and I dare say there's another brood to come. But notice the white valerian, and bear that in mind at the bottom of the picture there, because this chap's involved in that. This, of course, is a hummingbird Hawk-moth, one which I surprised and spooked initially, but it came back as I walked around the corner of the shed. It came back and it fed for a good few minutes and wasn't at all perturbed by my presence. I do absolutely love these. To see something that's originated from the continent at some time, and it's on a grotty backyard in Market Warsop. This one was even more confiding and occurred at a time when the valerian was still quite plentiful, but it was a very showy individual. That's what's good about these. Some, when they're settled and happy, they will allow you a very close approach. I've had these come to within touching distance of my hand as I've been holding the camera at times. But this one was a delight as it fed on the valerian, and that's all it did. It fed on valerian. Most, if not all, of the hummingbird hawk moths that I've had and seen and filmed in the garden or wherever, I've always just nectared. And those that visit the garden do this, just nectar at whatever plants are available. And here's one which turned up a few days later, a much fresher, darker individual, obviously recently hatched out and feeding on another type of verbena. It's a bedding type of verbena. I would recommend it because I had a couple of hummingbird hawk moths that loved this type of verbena. It has nice deep flowers which only moths can get to. So there was plenty of nectar available for this because the bees couldn't get at it. And then another hummingbird hawk moth. I've had about 24 this year, not all in the garden, but the majority have been in the garden. And this is nectaring again on valerian. But this one's not nectaring on valerian, and it's just laid the first of a number of eggs. And that's what it's doing with this erratic flight there. It lays an egg on that bit of valerian and continues to look. The footage isn't the best because it wouldn't hold still, but it will give you an idea as it goes to lay an egg there, but actually does lay one there. But the flight of these is very different when they're in egg laying mode, as you can see, as it visited another old tatty bit of valerian but didn't lay, as far as I'm aware. I did check. And in the process of checking some of the flower heads, I did find 2 eggs that this one didn't lay. And as you can see, it went all over the garden checking everything, but missed that. That is lady's bed straw. That's what it should be laying on. I had no idea that they laid, and there was another one has been laid, and it comes back to lay another egg on this one here. That's all new to me. I never knew that they would egg lay on valerian. All in all, what a couple of weeks it's been in the garden. Nothing but surprises. And there is the hummingbird hawk moth's egg.